Welcome to Leaderships for Startups, where we help entrepreneurs and leaders with practical tips to grow their business and flourish. My name is Toyo Shimbi, your host, and welcome to episode 1. Now, I'm honored to have with me my first guest on the show, Bevis Allen. Bevis has come from a humble background to being a professional boxing coach. He has ran his own fitness coaching business and has supported and advised the Olympic team on boxing. He has also been consulted by the British government in his field of expertise as a professional coach. Today, we're going to be talking about mindset. Bevis, welcome to the show.
Hey, Toye, and thank you so much for having me. Episode 1 feels like I'm creating history.
That's right. Yes, you are. Now, I know that our audience are leaders and entrepreneurs, but there's always a good link between business and sport. So let's start by asking you, what got you into boxing?
It's funny because up until the age of 10, I absolutely hated sport. I was the guy that was the last to be picked in the football, in running, and actually I was a very good runner. I could run 100 meters sub 11 seconds.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny, we're going to be talking about mindset. The thing that stopped me achieving it early in my younger life was my mindset. I just believed that I wasn't born to play sport, so I wasn't going to be good at it. So I simply didn't try. Then I say 10, probably when I started secondary school. We used to play football, and I started liking football, and then we do cross country running, and I hated cross country. So I kind of changed into doing 100 meters, 200 meters. And then I suddenly realized I was quite explosive, and I just had a knack for running fast.
Oh, wow.
With the boxing, my uncle boxed professionally. He was actually the first first immigrant ever to win a British professional title. And my cousin fought Mike Tyson twice and Lennox Lewis. So that side was kind of in the family, although I didn't know them till I started boxing. My uncle used to come and watch me. But the family, boxing was the only thing the whole family would kind of get around the TV and watch together. It was a kind of thing that brought the family together. And I always had it in mind I was going to box. Never coach, but I always had it in mind I was going to box.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. So boxing was the sport.
Yeah.
So then you also got into coaching. So what got you into coaching?
I was a very reluctant coach. What had happened was my marriage had broken down, and I was pretty depressed. And then I got offered a job to work in Hanover in Germany for 3 years. So I was commuting to and from Germany. I'd just come home on a Friday night, and then Sunday afternoon after church, I would then fly back over to Germany week in, week out. One weekend, I was in Palmer's Green. I wasn't living there at the time, and I ran into a guy who I used to box with in France. And he said, "Oh, why don't you come down to the gym?" And I was away anyway. But 9 months later, I was sitting at home one day, and I was feeling a bit down. I thought, oh, what's the harm? I can pop down and see some of the old guys. Went down there, had a chat with them. They said, "Oh, why don't you come along and give us a hand coaching?" And the rest is history.
Oh, wow, that's well, we definitely want to tap into your expertise because in the corporate world or in business, we know now that there's a lot of emphasis on having a coach or even managers and leaders being coaches. So it'd be good to get your perspective on that. So let's also just talk about mindset. What's your own perspective on why it's so important?
I'm probably going to use kind of a boxing analogy, and I can probably use it in the same way in terms of leadership, because I worked in the travel industry, had various jobs. At one time, I was, I guess, kind of business development manager. So we did re-engineering, and it was all about change. And as anyone can tell you who works in the business world, one of the hardest things is getting people to change. And change is about mindset. And I think in a sporting context, without the right mindset, you can have all the talent in the world, all the ability in the world. You're not going to get very far. And I actually think it's the same in life in general, same in business, whatever. Your mindset, how you view things, whether you think, I was reading this book, Carol Dweck, about mindset, very famous book.
Yes.
And she was talking about, it was the first time I heard the term growth mindset and fixed mindset. And just going through the list of characteristics, I realized that my mindset was pretty fixed. I kind of think, well, I'm good at this. I like this. I don't like that. Everyone's got their preferences. And I didn't believe that people could learn things and change through learning. And the learning aspect was the most important thing. I think it's actually made me, in the last few years, a much better coach. Because when I coach the boxers, I'm coaching less about their technical ability, but more about the mindset. Because if the mindset's right, you can learn anything. And I 100% believe that. So for me, mindset is the most important thing to get you from A to B.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's great that this is happening on episode 1. If it's going to be like the foundation.
Yeah.
So we'll come back again to some of the things that you shared, because I think even just from your own life, it seems that you've overcome different challenges. So we'll talk about that. But let's start talking to our audience about, people that are listening to this have either started their own venture, and you're saying that mindset is so important. I'm guessing if we were to look at that in terms of going into the ring, like that's what it is almost when you're starting a business.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talk about is that self-leadership is the first thing to work on. So let's go back into your sports of experience. You've been a boxer yourself.
Yeah.
The mindset a boxer takes into the ring.
The first thing I guess to say is that everybody experiences fear. Everybody, anyone who says they've been into a boxing ring and never been scared, they're either mad or they're lying. Mike Tyson famously said when he was sitting in the dressing room, he couldn't stop his knees from shaking. Wow. Every single fight, he was terrified, because it's a terrifying experience. So too is setting your own business up, doing whatever you're doing, stepping out into the unknown. But I think where the mindset comes in is being able to get the fear under control, to be able to control your fear. I was up at the English Institute of Sport, where all the Olympic boxers train. And the psychologist says, you're not nervous or afraid, you're excited. So he tells all the boxers, they're reciting, they're chanting, they said, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. And just saying it changes the dynamic, because when you're nervous, they say you can lose up to 60% of your energy. So even if you've trained as hard as you can lose a lot of nervous energy just being nervous. But if you're excited, that's very different. So just using a different word changes and reframes the mindset from I'm nervous, things can go wrong, to I'm excited, I'm ready, and I'm raring to go.
Wow, that's very powerful. So obviously, and then what about as you are in the ring? Because I'm guessing that the thing about boxing is that you are sort of on your own, once you step in. And obviously, if things aren't going well, because this is the challenge that many entrepreneurs face is, yes, you have an idea, it's brilliant, and there's always that excitement. But then the reality is sometimes you realize that it's harder than you thought. So how does a boxer, sometimes as a boxer might get hit down and knocked down, what kind of mindset would you train a boxer to have, even if they've been knocked down, to still get up? And
it's interesting, because I would always say to a boxer, and always talk about, the possibility of getting knocked down. Because if you get knocked down and you're aware and you're not too badly hurt and you're aware of where you are, the best advice is to take a bit of a count. So to take a bit of a breather. Don't jump up straight away and go back in it, because for all you know, you might still be dizzy. You might think you're all right, get up, your legs betray you. So if you know what's happening, get up around 7 or 8, take a bit of a breather, look to the corner, acknowledge that you're okay, and then stand up. If, of course, you're really, really hurt, the natural reaction is to get up straight away. Because that's what your body will tell you to do. I'm down, I don't belong here, I need to get up. But if you are aware, stay down for a little while, regroup, get yourself back together, and then stand up.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So I guess this then correlates to Carol Dweck's point about mindset change, how you change your understanding of failure. So if we were then to take this mindset that you've talked about from a boxer and now transfer that for an entrepreneur, what might be this practical things that an entrepreneur can do, when they face some of these challenges?
Yeah, I mean, what I'd say is that there is no real failure. The only failure is when you quit. Everything that doesn't work, it's just one more way that is the wrong way. I think Thomas Edison's favorite said, "I've never failed in my life. I've just found 100 ways not to do it." Or I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he meant was, I've never failed. I tried something that wasn't the way to do it. Let me think of something else. So what I'd say to an entrepreneur is, treat failure as learning. Don't even call it failure. Call it learning. So if they are doing a marketing or a campaign to sell a product, it doesn't work, don't just give up. Okay, what went wrong? Analyze, get the data, sit back and say, okay, what could I have done better? What could I have done differently? And then go out and do things differently.
That's brilliant. I mean, you mentioned some things about your own life. So what are some of the challenges that you face that you've had to apply this mindset shift that you're talking about?
Well, it's interesting because I was having a conversation on Tuesday morning with a guy who's setting up his own fitness business, and he's just secured his premises, and I gave him a bit of advice that I learned, because we did a similar model where we were going to go to, my business was all about going to the clients' houses, save money on premises, rent, and all, etc. So all of my clients were quite wealthy, high-end clients. And when I was doing my market research, I did some quite extensive research, but the one thing that I didn't take into account was that very wealthy people at certain times of the year often disappear because they've got other homes. This is true, you laugh. And I found that out quite hard, because the first few months when I had the business, I thought, this is brilliant. I mean, the first month I think I made 10 grand. I thought, this is going to happen every month. This will be brilliant. And then came July, and one by one client said, I'm going to Switzerland for 8 weeks. I'm thinking, 8 weeks? Who can afford to go for 8 weeks? And then I thought, actually, people who've got money. Yeah. Another guy went for 6 weeks, and all of a sudden, I didn't earn a penny for 3 months. Wow. So I was telling my friend on Tuesday about it. I said, there are pitfalls with this. You've got to have something else on the sideline, be it some exercise classes or something. You can't just rely on these clients, because even if they pay you up front, they're paying for the sessions that they're going to use. So you're still going to be 3 months behind at some point. So structure your business differently. Unless you're going to be charging them £400 or £500 a session, you're going to have to structure the business. And I think he took it on board. So for me, that was a key learn. Do better market research. Understand the market a little bit better. Yeah.
Okay. And so let's talk about starting a business. Obviously, you started your own fitness business. I'm guessing that we're going to have some people here who are contemplating on that. Let's assume that. So what advice would you have for people who want to maybe, start their own stuff?
I'd say one of the key things is to be very narrow, have a very, very, very narrow focus. The vast majority of people who do their level 3 become personal trainers. They do nutrition, they do body fat loss, they do running, they do 15 different things. But the thing is, you can't do 15 things well, and you can't be known for 15 different things. The best advice I can give is be known for one thing, and that's the one thing I wish I'd have done sooner. You know, in the boxing arena, people see me as an expert. I mean, I've been to House of Commons twice. I've had people, random politicians, phone me up because they consider me to be an expert in my field. I mean, there's a few other things I can probably do and probably do quite well.
Yeah.
But when you go small and very, very narrow and niche, that is the way to go. So I would say to anyone starting a fitness business, forget about this. I'm going to be a masseur. I'm going to do classes. I'm going to do weight management. I'm going to do conditioning. Find the best thing that you're good at and focus on that.
Brilliant. So, as you know, the title of this podcast is Leadership for Startups. So let's talk a bit about leadership, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, I mean, your own sort of definition of a good leader, what would that look like for you?
A good leader is someone who can influence and influence people, someone who can inspire people, but also I think someone who can actually lead themselves first and foremost. Because when you're starting a business, unless you're going in a partnership, very often you start off on your own and then you kind of build up. You get other people to come along with you. You start employing staff. I mean, in my business, the first 9 months I was kind of working on my own, and then at one point I had 3 people working for me, and I thought, oh, this is a proper business. You know, I can employ people. It didn't last too long, by the way, but I had a snapshot of what it was and the sense of responsibility, because when other people are relying on you for their livelihood, there is pressure. It's one thing being a one-man band, being a sole trader, or I'm an entrepreneur, but actually I'm working on my own. It's another thing. And one of the guys had a child, so he was relying on me leading the business and me knowing where the business was going strategically in order to feed him and his family. So that was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure there. But I think a leader is someone who also gets advice and gets input, because nobody knows everything. No one knows everything. And I think it's, be it you're reading books, you've got a kind of like a mastermind group where you can bounce ideas off. Those things are invaluable, because often you find yourself just in a quagmire of the day-to-day running of the business, and you, without getting that advice and that input, you can, I say, slowly go mad. Very quickly, you can lose perspective.
So have there been people that have inspired you in terms of leaders that you maybe look up to in terms of business?
I would say someone like John Maxwell, because for me, building a business is all about adding value to people. It's all about helping people and helping people achieve and be better tomorrow than they are today. So that takes a lot of things. And I think seeing how John Maxwell does it, every time he talks about adding value to people's lives. And whether it's through boxing, through coaching, because even through coaching or fitness, you're helping people stay healthy, so that so they can live fulfilled lives with their health. So that's a big thing for a lot of people, because until you don't have your health, you don't quite realize how challenging things are till you're sick. So I'd say someone like John Maxwell would be the first person, because I read a lot of books. I read a lot of self-help books. So he would be, I guess, I say, a hero. I've not met him or spoken to him, but he's definitely someone I look up to.
I'm sure his name's going to be coming up a lot on our show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. I mean, I know you, so I know that you've influenced quite a number of people. Maybe you can tell us a story of, especially somebody that you've served in coaching as a boxer, in terms of seeing the transition in their life. Maybe you can tell us a bit of somebody.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about this tonight, so it's funny that you asked me the question. There was a young lad. Am I allowed to say names or not? I won't say his name, because I'm sure he won't say his name. And he originally came to me when he was 13, when I was at the boxing club. The police brought him down because he'd been expelled from every school. No school in London would have him, not even a pupil referral unit. And they wanted me to work with him. And I initially didn't warm to to the kids. You know, I didn't really like him, but I trained him, and just to kind of keep him out of the streets, we train literally every single day. You know, normally train sessions 3 times a week, but I'd bring him in for extra sessions Tuesday and Thursdays, and we started to bond. He eventually competed. He never lost an amateur fight.
Wow.
He was 2-time national champion, won 2 Box Cup gold medals, and he's now a professional boxer.
Wow.
And he's not involved in drugs or stealing anymore, and he's earning 6-figure salary a year, far more than I am. So but I'm really, really proud of him in terms of how and it just goes to show, when you invest in people, when you believe in people, and this is a kid where his parents thought this guy is just a waste of time, school thought he's a waste of time. He was convinced he was going to prison, and he's never been to prison, and just to see that transformation is I'm proud for him, but I'm proud to have been a part of his life to help him.
And that's sort of the ethos of this show, which is why we talk about, you know, leaders building businesses that flourish, because entrepreneurs have ideas and then they help and serve people, which changes our society. That's why we're very passionate about the whole idea of encouraging more entrepreneurship and leadership. So what goals are you passionate about right now? What's your main focus you want to see happen in your personal or business life?
One of my main focuses, and if it's odd enough about the mindset thing, I've been talking about it for about 2 years now, is getting my own boxing gym. And the purpose of the gym isn't just so I could train professional boxers, but I can use it as a community hub to help people, a place where young people can go and kind of feel part of something. Because, you know, with the government cuts, and in some areas they're saying 99% of youth clubs and youth workers have just vanished, and they wonder why there's crime, because kids have nothing to do. So it's a place where people can come and people can connect. Less coaching, I'd say, more mentoring. And help them, because not all of them are going to want to box, but just support them, because I'm very passionate around some of the stuff that's happening now around knife crime. And I think the number one reason is a lot of the youngsters don't know their value. They don't appreciate their value, so they don't value anyone else. So
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I mean, in the intro episode, I did mention about how the statistics show that you can actually track that some of our knife crime in London is due to lack of jobs. They're not finding employment, and obviously it's not the government that's going to create jobs; it's entrepreneurs.
Yeah, exactly right.
So that's why we're very excited about starting this. Hopefully, we inspire people like you to, you know, push themselves forward to put that dream, because it influences other people, changes people's lives, which is amazing. I mean, let's begin to wrap up a bit. But so let's talk about the future of entrepreneurship and leadership in business. What are your thoughts in terms of where you see things going in the next few years?
I think, that the dreaded word Brexit, I think because of what's happening with Brexit, I think what we're going to find is more and more, where the job market becomes uncertain. We saw it in the crash 2008. I actually started my business as a result of the last financial crash. I was redundant, so I decided I don't want to work with someone else, I want to set my own business up. And I think that's what more and more people are going to be doing in the next 10 years. Already, because I'm kind of in that arena, I see a lot of young people starting social enterprises. There was a group of kids where we supported last year, and they made lemonade in Camden Market. They got Camden Council to commandeer a part of the market, and they made hundreds of pounds in a day. They made the lemonade, they set the stall up, they did everything. And I think we sometimes underestimate what young people can do, because ultimately they're the future. So I would envisage in the next 10 years, we'll see a lot more startup businesses, a lot more entrepreneurs. And when I'm talking entrepreneurs, I'm not talking about your one-man electrician, although they're great. I'm talking about people that can get other people to come alongside them, people that will have a team of people working for them, where they're creating wealth for other people, not just themselves. I think in the next 10 years, we're going to see a big influx of that.
Brilliant. And any top tip that you would give our audience that are listening in terms of leadership and entrepreneurship?
In terms of entrepreneurship, I'll say don't chase the money, because it's very easy to go after what's going to make you the most money. I think go after your passion, go after that thing which is your gift, your area of giftedness. Do it well and do it to serve people. The money and the rest of that stuff will follow. And I think in terms of leadership, try your best to influence other people in a positive. But the first thing you've got to do is you've got to be able to influence yourself. So master yourself. If there are things in your character which you're struggling with, try and overcome those. Because I can't remember who said it, but someone said, every business problem is a personal problem. And I think that's true. So unless you master yourself, these problems will then appear in your business. If you don't like admin, it might be you've got to fill out tax returns and you don't want to fill out the tax return on time and you get fined, whatever it is. For sure, your personal character weaknesses will come out in your business. So while you're working on your business, also work on your character.
Brilliant. Excellent. So, Bevis, if our audience want to connect with you, how can they connect?
That's a good point. I'm not a high technology guy. Well, they can. Well, if anyone's got any questions, they're happy to either contact me via Facebook, or they can email me at bevis.allen@gmail.com.
Okay.
And I will certainly answer and reply quickly. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much. It's been fantastic having you on our first episode, which is a historic moment.
Fantastic. And thank you for asking me along. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's definitely, just to wrap up in terms of what you're saying about the importance of not having a fixed mindset, but actually a mindset that is growing and being eager to grow, follow our passion. And if we get knocked down, to get back up again. I think that is valuable advice for anybody, even at any stage. It's only at startup stage. I think it's just to do with life. And the funny thing is that, as you've shared, that other aspects of life could hit you from different avenues, and you've got to still have that mindset towards those challenges.
Exactly right.
So, thank you very much. So just for our audience, definitely if you enjoyed this show, please subscribe on whichever podcast platform you're listening to this. We are on iTunes, and it'd be great if you can leave a comment as well. If you need any more information, you can go to leadershipforstartups.com and you can download our Do You Have What It Takes checklist, 12 essential characteristics of successful entrepreneurs. Download that and see where you are. It'd be great to hear from you. I want to thank my guest, Bevis Allen. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom.
Thank you.
And, it's great just to see also the impact that you're having, and I wish you every success on your business venture, and I'm sure we'll have you back to give us even more pearls of wisdom. All right. Okay, audience, this is Toyoshi B checking out for a Leadership for Startups, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.